But I mean, that's just one of those matches that you see and you're like, oh my God, you got to give credit to this guy. He's a huge talent. He's still as clutch as ever. Like we were talking about, they put a good team around him. But yeah, I mean, let's see what that roster can do with Melo and if he can be that 25, 28 point a game guy. Top rookie going with number 3 overall pick, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I didn't follow the guy that much in college, but I mean, if he went number 3 overall, he's got to be pretty decent, right? So, yeah, I'd like to see what that guy does with that young team. It's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do this year.
Okay. Kevin.
Yep.
Southeast Division. You got the top player on the rise, and the top coach. Who you have?
Southeast Division. Hey, I got the Southeast.
Heat.
Yeah,
everything.
I got the
everything.
I got the Southeast Division.
Cool it down a little bit.
Heat everything.
I got the Southeast Division. Okay. The coach is, let's see, not
coach on the hot seat.
Yeah, coach on the hot seat's Eric Spoelstra. Get that son of a bitch out of Miami. I'm getting sick of that shit. Yeah, I'm sick of Eric Spoelstra. But no, the top coach is one, Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel?
Yeah, I like Vogel. I like the Magic's pickup. The top player, you getting paid like it. You better come out and play like it. And it's Whiteside. Okay. I think Whiteside is. I think he's legit. I just think he's now the face of the Miami Heat franchise. So now he has to come out and play like the face. And from what I see so far in the preseason,
you like
the shit. What hasn't there been to like? People were worried about offense with him, and I'm like, well, now you see what he gets when you don't got to worry about giving the ball to anybody.
There you go. Fair enough. Okay. All right. I'll go with you, Nick. Go ahead with the Southeast Division.
All right. You guys might not like me for this, but my top player, Kemba Walker.
Okay.
I've always liked Kemba. I mean, he's an offensive assassin with that Hornets team. It's crazy. I mean, even coming out of UConn, we already knew that the type of player he's going to be. He's never even changed the way he's played. People might argue that John Wall out of this division is a better point guard, but I mean, Kemba just takes over the game when it's on the line. I mean, we've seen what this guy can do. I mean, he's not as Wall's not as good of a shooter as Kemba, but I mean, Kemba's going to pull up with that contested jump shot and drain it. I mean, I like this guy a lot. It just sucks that he's on the Hornets, I guess you can say. But I don't see the Hornets doing much this year. But to me, Kemba is that guy. My player on the rise, Dennis Schroeder.
Okay.
This guy, with Jeff Teague being gone, I mean, it opens the door for him to be that guy in that franchise. I mean, he gets better every single year. His style of play at the point guard position, I mean, he can run that offense efficiently. He's a great defender. I just see him doing big things for the Hawks. And, but my coach on the hot seat, because the coach killer is in Atlanta, I've got Mike Budenholzer as my coach on the hot seat because Dwight Howard goes to the Magic, drafted with the Magic. Van Gundy, peace out. Goes to the Lakers. D'Antoni, you're gone. And then he comes to the Rockets, and McHale was gone. And I think McHale was his best coach. So, I mean, that's the coach on the hot seat. If Dwight Howard sits there and pouts about whatever he's going to pout about this year, that guy's gone because everybody's going to be like, oh, well, it's Dwight Howard. We'll believe him over a coach. So that's the coach on the hot seat. The Hawks got to do good. I mean, they're going to be a good team this year. Don't get me wrong. Again, the East is a toss-up. It could be anybody that's going to do good, and that's going to be from the second seed to the 8th seed because we already know who's going to be that first seed coming out of the East. But, yeah. I mean, the Hawks have a chance to switch it up and, do good this year. But, again, he's on the hot seat with Dwight Howard being – I mean, I wouldn't want – if I'm a head coach at any team and I find out that we're even having rumors about Howard coming over here, I'm going to start updating my resume a little bit.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
So in the Southeast, I've actually got Miami coming out of that. So there you go, Kevin. I'm on your side for that. I like Miami. I like what they're doing. Hassan Whiteside to me is the top player in that division. As far as players on the rise, I'd like to go with young talent, but because of the gruesome injury, I've got to say Paul George. He's definitely a stud already. It's kind of hard to put him in here. Like, I almost thought about putting him as top player, but player on the rise. Kind of contradicting myself a little bit because he can. It's kind of both of them for him. But if I'm going to go with young talent, I want to see what Miami does with Justice Winslow if he can start scoring. Team on the rise, I've got the Hornets. And top coach, I've also got Atlanta. Mike Budenholzer. You summed it up perfectly, Nick, with Dwight Howard, and I kind of expect that he's going to be even more on a hot seat than any of these coaches he's played with because Dwight's at home. So even if he doesn't perform, the home crowd may be behind him because he's back in Atlanta. So, I think that, unfortunately, with the success that the Hawks have had recently and how he's built it up, all that's going to be kind of covered over by wool, and the wool's going to be over their eyes, and it's going to be, it's going to be Dwight's team.
Remember the show Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
We need to make a show that every NBA coach hates Dwight.
Yes, absolutely.
We need to read
I agree.
The Southeast Division, where I watch a lot of my basketball here.
No, you think no.
And this division, I think, is going to be the most physical division because you got Marcin Gortat, you got Bismack Biyombo, you have Hassan Whiteside, you have Dwight Howard, and if Roy Hibbert even show a glimpse of himself,
I can't believe you just mentioned Roy Hibbert.
I know. That's why I say if he shows even a glimpse of himself in Indiana, then you got some defensive-minded teams in this division that is going to be pretty tough to play ball in. So I expect this division to be like super competitive between the 5 teams, and but my top player in this division, I mean, John Wall. I'm excited to see him on the Scotty Brooks. He averaged 19 points and he got a double-double. He had assists. He had 10 assists, improving three-point shot. He had 35% makes on 4 attempts. If Russ was not in the NBA, we're talking about him being the fastest player in the NBA. John Wall, I'm excited to see what he does. I know you got Bradley Beal, who seemed to be back. He seemed to be healthy. So I know they had a little down year the year before, but I think he's going to bounce back. And we'll be talking about John Wall as the best player in the division. And so right now, I got him being the best player in the division. The player on the rise, call me a homer, but I'm going to go with Evan Fournier. He's the full-time shooting guard now with Victor Oladipo being traded to OKC. He shot 40% from the three-point line, a career high in scoring last year when he was like an 8-point scorer as a rookie and had 10 points when he got traded to the Magic, 15 points. And he's got excellent playmaking ability. I'm not going to sit here and try to say he moves pretty good. I'm sitting here. I'm not going to put these comparing because I want everybody to get misconstrued right here, but he's Ginobili-like in the little 1/8 of it, just to be that. I'm not going to disrespect Manu Ginobili like that, but I've seen some plays that, he's got some flashes of some great playmaking ability. So I'm excited to see what he does. He's got full-time rings. He doesn't have to worry about swinging position. My top coach is going to be between Mike Budenholzer and Steve Clifford. Steve Clifford has got this Hornets team going pretty well. And he get Michael Kidd-Gilchrist back. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist had an injury that he was bound last year. Mm-hmm. Nicholas Batum did a pretty good job, and we talked about Kemba Walker. And I mentioned that Roy Hibbert bounces back. As Kevin laughed about.
God darn it, you had to mention Roy Hibbert again.
Yes.
That's where you lost
Brown.
me.
Yeah.
You lost me at Roy Hibbert mentions. I thought we could go a whole podcast with no Roy Hibbert mention.
There's 3.
And you did it. 5, 3. Oh.
Mike Budenholzer, I like what he's got cooking there. It'd be like I said, I know he's the Dwight Howard's a coach killer, but if he can humble himself and realize he's not the player that he used to be, and just if he can still be the player that can just rebounds and play a good interior defense, then I can see him having a good impact for the Atlanta Hawks. So,
hey, do you mind if I chime in on the Dwight Howard thing real quick?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I was watching the game the other night that they were playing, and I mean, I watched Dwight for 4 minutes, and he got an offensive for going over the back and pushing and all that, and I don't see Dwight humbling himself. He's just that guy. I mean, we know how good he was and the potential he had when he was with the Magic, but I think ever since that Van Gundy was fired because of him, I lost all respect for that guy. He's a giant 7 foot or 6'11", whatever, however tall he is. He's a giant man baby. That's what he is, and he's a team killer. He's a coach killer, and it absolutely kills me that somebody that had the potential to be next to Shaq in numbers and as a stature as a center, this guy has just ruined himself. And I mean, again, yeah, he's in the NBA and I'm not, but at the same time, you have to humble yourself, man. I mean, this is a game that you want to win championships with, and you can't keep floating around teams like that and expect people to have respect for you by the way that you've treated the other teams in this coaching staff. It's just insane. I don't like the guy.
Yeah, he's got like we said, Dwight, he's a Devo. He's got a huge ego problem, but that's what I'm saying. If he can adjust his ego and play how Mike Budenholzer wanted to play, then maybe we can see something. But like I said, Nick said he's making on he's not going to be that way. So so it'll be interesting to see how he responds to it and everything like that.
Hey, and I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. He's a great talent. It's just his head gets in the way of his talent.
Yeah. Okay. And we come to the last division, the Central Division, that two of guys.
Drum roll, please.
So we got two of the guys that love these teams in their division and players. So I'm gonna go with Mike first, since he roots for the team that was the champion. I'll let him break this down, and we'll conclude.
So, of course, I mean, since we picked it at the very beginning, we all know it's going to be a rematch. Of course, you've got the number one team coming out, which is going to be Cleveland, and the top player, hands down, LeBron James. I love talking about the Central Division because it's so fun. And I think it's going to become more fun because the team on the rise, I've actually got kind of at a dead heat right now between Detroit and Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee because, I mean, really, 4 players that are going to be in that lineup that have not only height but length. Giannis Antetokounmpo he's going to be a top 10 player by the end of the year. Let me tell you that. I think we've known who he is, of course, because nobody can pronounce his last name like Stacey Keene couldn't. Sorry, little jab there for you, Nick. But I think everybody's going to know who Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be by the end of the season. He's going to be a force. He can play 3 different spots, and then I think Thon Maker coming in and him developing with Greg Monroe if they decide to keep him, unless they decide to use him for leverage and get somebody else. I like what Milwaukee's doing right now, and I think they have a unique situation because how many teams have you ever known with 4 players that can span over 7 feet left to right?
Yeah,
not many people, not many teams. My coach in the hot seat, hands down, Fred Hoiberg. I don't know. The Chicago situation is kind of interesting. If Dwayne Wade's coming out saying this is not going to be like a championship opportunity right now, they're just playing together, then really what are you going to be playing for? And Fred Hoiberg has to coach that. Plus, you've got Rajon Rondo, who's right behind, if you ask me, as far as headaches go, right behind Dwight Howard as a headache. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see. Top coach, SVP. Unless if I don't say LeBron James is the top coach, I will go with Stan Van Gundy. I love Stan. I think he's doing great. I think he's got a good platform to work with Stanley Johnson. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is really coming out. And, he showed a lot of scoring ability last year. I'm not a fan of Reggie Jackson, but he works well in that system quite a bit. Of Andre Drummond. I think that they've got a good young nucleus as well. When I say nucleus, I like to focus on 3 players since everything's about the big 3 these days. And I think that's a good opportunity for them. So I like Stan.
Okay. Nick, this is also your division?
All right, my division, of course, and in my personal opinion, aside from the Cavaliers just taking off on it, I mean, and it's hard for me to say that as a Bulls fan, but I mean, come on, be realistic. But this is going to be the hardest fought division in my eyes. I mean, this is young talent. This is good talent all the way around in this division. But my player on the rise, once again, as a Bulls fan, Doug McDermott. This guy has potential to be a solid player in this league. And you don't find people in this league too much. They want to be the star. They want to be the guy. They want to be the guy that gets the paycheck. This guy is so just comfortable with being a role player. We need more of this in this league. We need guys to know their role. Don't exceed, but also don't, lose that level of expectation.